Watching the movie is always the first step of preparing for the podcast.
Yeah, I was just saying that if I didn't watch it, I wouldn't be here. But here I am.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Real Horror Show podcast. I'm your host, Samantha, and I'm joined as always by the Stormy Skies.
Hello, listeners.
And over on the bed, I'm joined silently by my new kitten, Trixie.
Meow, meow.
Which is the reason we didn't record last week. We went to pick her up instead of doing work.
Yeah, well, congratulations on being a cat mom.
Yeah. She's 9 weeks old yesterday, and she's perfectly content.
Adorable. And she's tuxedo cat, right?
Yeah, she's a tuxedo cat.
Oh.
When we brought her home, she spent 0 time in the carrier. She came right out, started sniffing everything, and she's had 0 issues warming up to us.
Well, that's great.
So I think she was just meant to be our kitty.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
She's very sweet, and maybe we'll get a second one eventually, but since she's not fixed, we want to wait to get a second one, because getting her is in a not special circumstance, but our friend works at a vet clinic. Her coworker found her in a parking lot and started fostering her, and my friend said that if we were interested, she would cover the first immunizations as our wedding present. So
nice.
Excellent. Yeah. So she's so young, she's not fixed yet, and most shelter cats are already fixed. So we'll think about maybe getting a second one once she's
all set. Yep. When she's a little older too.
When she's a little older.
Yeah, then she'll be ready to have a fun playmate.
Yeah, I am a little worried that she'll get used to the life as a single cat and being spoiled, that she won't want a friend, but I think we'll see. We'll see how she grows.
Yeah, it's whatever you decide, and they'll get used to it, especially when they're young. You don't want to wait until they're older, and then that becomes a problem there. Yeah.
She's a sweetie.
Cute.
Unlike the little girl in the 1998 Japanese psychological horror film directed by Hideo Kitaka, Ring, or Ringu as it's referred to, just to differentiate it from its 2002 remake of the same name.
Yes.
But due to the strike, we're finally getting into some real Japanese horror movies, and Ringu is a really good place to start because it is an incredibly influential horror movie that launched the popularization of J-horror and the soon-to-come constant remakes of J-horror movies that began with The Ring in 2002, starring Naomi Watts, who has been in at least 3 American remakes of international horror films.
Wow. Cool. Yeah.
She was in this. Yeah. She was the mom in Funny Games when that got remade.
Yeah.
And then she was Mother in
the one we just watched with the twins.
Yeah. So she has a knack for bringing international horror to the United States, but I might talk about The Ring a little bit, which, as a disclaimer, I've seen Scary Movie 3 a lot more than I've seen The Ring.
Me too, right?
So I might get a little confused when talking about The Ring and reference something that was just made in Scary Movie 3. The times I've watched The Ring, I get confused when they don't go visit the Oracle, but then I remember, oh, that's a Scary Movie thing because it's referencing The Matrix, because Scary Movie 3 is a parody of The Matrix, The Ring, and
like 3 other things.
And Signs.
Yeah, Signs. That might be the most popular Scary Movie, I think, right? I feel like it is.
I feel like it is too, which is weird because it was the first one not done by the Wayans brothers. So it's very polarizing in the Scary Movie community, but I would say it's top tier with the first and second one. Once you get to 4, it's not as good anymore, but that's the same.
Yeah.
The same can be said for every horror franchise that goes on too long.
Yeah, exactly. Is The Ring streaming on something that is not like a struck platform?
That's a good question. The last time I saw The Ring was streaming on Netflix, and I'm not sure. I think Rogue Pictures put out The Ring.
I can't even find anything where it's
streaming. Yeah, it's currently on Netflix, according to, or is this referring to Octonauts, The Ring of Fire? I think that's what this Google search is pulling. so it might not be on streaming right now.
On streaming at all. Okay, interesting.
But we can touch on it at some point.
Okay.
Because there are a few differences I noticed between Ringu and The Ring, even though I do think The Ring was a very kind of shot-for-shot remake.
You know what? I would agree with that. So if I can remember what happened, I think I picked up on at least a handful of differences too.
Yeah. Sorry, a friend is messaging me.
Sam, your turn to speak.
Could you repeat what you said?
Yeah, of course. So I said that if I can remember what happens in The Ring, I'll as we go through it, I'm pretty sure that I picked up like a handful of differences, but you're right, it's like the same.
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference is
the volcano thing.
Reiku, the volcano thing, although the outcome of that is the same in both. The mother of Sudoka / Samara kills herself. In the original, she throws herself into a volcano. But wherever the fuck The Ring is set, I probably the northeast. Yeah. Not northeast, northwest.
Northwest. Pacific or Southwest. Yeah.
She throws herself into the ocean.
Into the ocean, yes.
So the outcome is the same. The biggest difference I picked up between Naomi Watts' character in the remake and Reiko, the mother in the original, is Reiko is kind of an absent single mother, where I think Naomi Watts' version is trying to be more of a presence in her son's life because she is a single mother. Yeah. And when I was reading some analysis about the original Ring, about what the director and writer were trying to say, that is a point that they bring up, is the break from tradition and the fear of breaking from tradition. Because I'm not an expert in Japanese culture. I'm going to repeat some stuff I've picked up on in animes and from people who live in Japan. Japan is still a very tradition-based culture. Sudoka is a Yurei, I think Yuri, which is a Japanese spirit that is accessed by using, at the time, a VHS tape, a modern piece of technology. Yeah. And even today, I've heard from friends who've done the Teaching English in Japan programs. Japan is still very behind, actually, when it comes to some technological things. Like the Japanese government this past year was phasing out floppy disks as a means of storage. Goodness. Which I can't hold them to accountable, because that's government stuff, and government stuff always moves slower than the rest of society.
True. Yeah, very true.
But since the mother in both versions is in this one, she's a divorcee, single mother. I think that's very not traditional in Japan. And the fact that she's putting her career in a way above raising her son, and her son is kind of raising himself. Yeah. He's less of a character in this one than he was in the original. Yeah. Because he ends up just staying with his grandpa most of the time. And I can't remember what he does in the remake. But that's not to say she doesn't care about him. She's just trying to be everything at once.
Yes, exactly.
And I actually read a novel not too long ago called Eggs and Breasts by a Japanese author whose name escapes me at the moment.
Hey, I've heard of that.
But the second half of the novel focuses on one of the sisters who's asexual. It's never said out loud, but she doesn't enjoy sex. She doesn't like it. She's never found an interest in it, but that doesn't mean she doesn't want to be a mother. Right. So she starts seeking a way to conceive via in vitro or via a sperm donor, sperm donor. Yeah. And she talks to her friends about this, and everyone is like super against it, because it's not
like
how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to get married and have a baby.
Yeah. I see. I'm so sorry if you can hear the helicopters outside. I don't know why they're there.
I can't hear anything.
Okay, good. Good. Perfect. Anyway, yeah. It's just not traditional, and it's just goes against, I guess, everyone's just like values. Even modern values are still old, rooted in tradition. I mean,
a big analysis of this version of The Ring is kind of that split of modernness from tradition and
modernity.
Yeah, that kind of fear that comes with modernization.
Yeah.
Getting into acting, I thought everybody did a really good job. There were the relationship between the divorced parents versus what we saw with Naomi Watson, generic hot early 2000s guy in the first one is I think the remake ends with them kind of reconciling and getting back together, but the original doesn't. They respect each other. I think they have a lot of love for each other, but this curse doesn't bring them back together romantically at all. They are colleagues at the end of the day, and he introduces her as his ex-wife.
Yes, I barely remember in the remake, like, the man.
Yeah.
It's been such a long time.
Yeah, I remember one of the main differences I saw was they in the remake they kind of treat it as a little twisty poo that it's his son, that her son is the kid she had with her ex-boyfriend, whereas this is just, it's pretty obvious right away when he says this is my ex-wife, and the awkwardness he feels around his son because he's an absent father. He doesn't seem to have a relationship with his son at all, and we don't really know why they divorced. We can probably gather maybe it was putting their careers before their relationship too much, and a baby was just, maybe she was pregnant and they didn't know it when they divorced, and he was just like, okay. Or she thought she could do it by herself, and we see that she can, but not in a way that's beneficial to the child.
Right. Yeah.
The kid is just there. He's not as big of a player as he is in the US remake, where he has more than 3 lines. I don't think he has a lot of lines at all in this movie, which is fine.
That's fine.
And then, like the remake, we have Sudoka's father, who we find out killed her, threw her in the well. There aren't a lot of players in this movie. It's very tight.
We're focused. Very tight.
And I just want to point out the movie ends on September 22nd, and we're recording on September 22nd.
I think that's crazy, because I was thinking about when we were watching, I was like, hey, these dates are like now. It's cool that they did the dates, so that was cool.
I didn't have any problems with the acting in this movie.
No, I really enjoyed the acting. Looking at the cast of Ringu, I also want to point out that I'm a really big fan of the like the ex-husband.
Oh, you've seen him in other stuff?
Yeah, he's in a lot of other stuff, and he's in a lot of American films as well. He was a martial artist first, and then he became an actor, and he kind of transitioned from Japanese films to American films and stuff. He's been in a lot of action movies.
He was in Lost. Who was he in Lost? He wasn't
I don't know.
He wasn't Daniel Kim, because Daniel Kim was in Lost.
His name is, I don't even want to try to pronounce his name. Sonata is his last name, but he just has that very striking look, and he always has like facial hair and like glasses. So, he's in a lot of movies, man. So you have to look at his movies, because he's in a lot of stuff where he does stunts because he's a martial artist. But it was interesting to see him in a movie where he does no stunts, except he like breaks that wall at the end with the thing and climbs down the well. But he's very cool. It's a lot of stuff. I haven't seen anybody else because it seems like the female lead mostly has just remained in just Japanese films, and I haven't seen her name in any American films that I know of. That's basically it. It's just them and the kid.
So I guess we can just go ahead and get into story then.
Yeah.
Not if you're familiar with the 2002 version of this movie, not a lot shifts. It begins with two teenage girls watching TV, and they start talking about the scary tape and telling ghost stories, and they get scared. The phone rings. It's just the mom. And then boom, one of the girls sees something horrifying that we, the audience, won't get to see until the end of the movie. And that's what kills her, freezes her face in a horrifying position. The whole 9 yards. At this point, Ring is such a horror icon. I don't need to describe it too much.
It really is iconic. And it's so crazy that the American remake is literally exactly like this. So I feel like this movie, like, I think the American version got lucky with the one it chose to remake, because it like changed like the culture of horror because it's so iconic. I feel like it's a sleeper hit too, because whenever you think of iconic horror movies, you think of like slashers first, but like actually The Ring is so iconic because it's such a unique concept.
And even this one, I think the American one brought in a little more action to be a bit more of a horror movie. Like, we don't have the horse scene in the original, which when you talk about The Ring, everybody brings up, oh, the fucking horse getting killed by the boat propellers as one of the most.
What the fuck? When does that happen?
When they're on the way to the island, there's a horse on the boat.
What the fuck?
But it's the scene people always bring up.
Oh my God. I need to rewatch. Sam, it's on a lot of streaming. Can we just like watch it for next time?
We can't watch it yet.
Oh, we can't watch this one. Okay, I'm so sorry.
They are in negotiations. So hopefully we can start watching mainstream horror again soon.
Sorry,
or at least talking about it again.
Okay, I got too excited. Horse.
This one is a lot quieter. It's a lot slower paced. It's more of a mystery than it is a straight horror. A lot of the paranormal stuff comes into play because the ex-husband in this version is a psychic, and that's how they get the visions of what the imagery on the tapes mean. Is the ghost of Sudoka, or the mother, is contacting him and showing him this stuff and kind of hinting that, their curse could be lifted if they figure out what happened to her daughter. And that's the journey they go on. And so the inciting incident is the girl's dying, and her aunt is a reporter who finds out that not only did her niece die that day, but 3 or 4 other students died as well. And the common factor is they all stayed at this cabin one weekend. And so she goes to the cabin where she finds a mysterious tape among the other tapes available for rent to watch in her cabin. So she does that, watches the movie, gets the phone call that she's going to die in 7 days. She takes the tape home with her, shows it to her ex-husband. He watches it, but doesn't get a phone call. That's another thing that I noticed they changed, is in the American version, the phone call only comes when they're at the cabin. But I think the phone call comes anywhere in the American version.
Yes, it does. That's why I was like, oh, why didn't the phone ring? Did he like watch it the wrong way? You know what I mean? So yeah, but that was an interesting difference. Yeah.
But he's still cursed, even though he didn't get the phone call, which plays into how they figure out where Sudoka's body might be. So they go on this mission to find everything. Well, first he says, hey, you only have 3 days left, so maybe get your shit in order. So again, this doesn't happen in the American version. I don't think she has a father in the American version that matters. I mean, she probably does. She exists. He's just not a character in the movie. So she goes to her father's house to spend time with him and her son, until her son watches the tape, and now he's cursed.
Why did he do that?
I don't know. He does it in the American one too.
That's
He
so
just
dumb.
he's a kid. Kids do dumb things all the time.
I guess you're right, Sam, but geez, don't they know it's dangerous?
It's just a blank tape.
I know, right?
How is he supposed to know? You
I
should write,
know.
don't watch Dangerous.
Don't watch Danger, you will die.
Yeah. So now they have motivation to go to the island where they believe the tape originated, or at least the curse originated.
Yeah.
And they go to a hotel owned by Sudoka's father. They see the mirror, which confirms their suspicions. Lot of plot explanation. They find out, yes, his wife did throw herself into the volcano to kill herself before the eruption. There was a earthquake or something. And then, oh God, can't remember everything. Either way, they piece together that Sudoka's body is under the cabin because they only got a phone call when they were at the cabin. So they break into the crawl space of the cabin, find the well, which confirms all their suspicions. And she goes down there. He goes down there. They start trying to drain some of the water out so they can find the body until she passes out. And they swap places and she finds Sudoka's body and they believe the curse is lifted and everything's going to be fine because she lived past the time she was supposed to die.
Yeah.
So they go home, have their goodbyes, for now at least. He's the father of her kid. He'll be around some.
Right.
And then for as slow as this movie was, it makes up for it in these next 5 minutes where we finally see exactly how the individuals die.
Yeah. Which is when the phone rings and then the scary girl crawls out of the TV, just like in the
and I thought the effect was really cool. She just
it was flawless. I thought it was great, actually. I was like, hey.
And I know in the 2002 one, it's also cool, but it's a little more, we like rigidness in our American horror movies, bodies moving in ways that they're not supposed to move.
Yes, we do. This one was like, oh yeah, she's just walking toward, and I thought that she was walking towards him actually in like a non-menacing way, only because I'm used to the American way of scary body moves.
I think that's an interesting difference between Sudoka and Samara and how they emerge from the TV. Samara is more of a video coming out of the screen and she kind of keeps that video form. I have vague memories of her like moving, like fast forwarding and kind of glitching, tracking the way VHS tapes used to do. Whereas Sudoka is a ghost. She looks like a girl. We see her nails are ripped off from when she tried to climb out of the well. And then we get the iconic shot that you always see when you think of Ringu, of the eye staring down at him.
Yeah, which is like, and you see most of the white. So that's the one thing that does look like unnatural. And that's very cool. Yeah, but then like we also don't see how the person does die, like the moment of their death, I mean, is what we do not see. It just kind of freeze frames on their scared face. Maybe they die of fear, I don't know, but it could be. Yeah, and that's and then she finds out that he has died.
And so she tries to figure out, what did she do that he didn't do, because they followed the same path the entire week. And then it occurs to her, because his ghost kind of appears to her in the reflection of the TV, that she copied the tape and showed it to him. That's what she did different. And she takes her VCR, takes the tape, drives to get her son at her father's, and it is implied, not even implied, she flat out says, I'm going to show you something when I get there, Dad. So she's just going to fucking kill her dad.
Is that what that was? I like totally missed that. Well, the point of doing all that is she explains that, like, she was like, why didn't I die? But he died because she didn't lift the curse by touching the body. She skipped over herself by making a copy of the tape and showing it to someone else. So she said that if you make perpetual copies of the tape, you can perpetually skip the person. So she's going to make another copy of whatever tape the kid watched to show her father. So it, rest in peace, Dad. Wow, that's
Unless
fucked
she
up. I missed
convinces him to
that.
show it to someone else, but he's an old,
I
probably
hope
very
so.
traditional Japanese man who will probably take death with honor.
Ugh.
But she can't let her child die, so that's kind of her
Yeah.
being a good mom, even though she's been not the greatest mom throughout the duration of the movie.
He's like 9 and she's like, hey, you good to be
Hey,
by
I'm gonna
yourself
be
all
home
day today?
late. Can you cook dinner by yourself?
I'm like, okay, great. He's really independent.
Which I'm gonna say, I do think
Yeah.
Japanese kids and even kids in Europe have a lot more independence than kids here in America do. In fact, there's a
Good.
Japanese reality show
Yeah.
where they send 2-year-olds out to run errands just to see how well they do. And it's very
Nice.
cute.
That's funny. That sounds
So,
cute.
and also it's 1998, and back
Yeah,
then latchkey kids, even in America, were a thing where
it
we just
was.
were kind of left alone for a few hours every day.
Yeah,
But
just stay inside is all you gotta do.
yeah. So I guess looking at it now that I'm 30 and we've shifted so much in how children should be
Yeah.
hovered over constantly, it is a shift, but I can also see why that was kind of a focus and a point of analysis when this movie
Yeah.
came out, with, how traditional Japan is.
Yeah.
Uh, so I get it, but it's also weird
Hmm.
how we're kind of shocked at it today with
Yeah.
wanting to protect the kids at all costs over here in America, that we've kind of regressed a bit in the
Yeah.
independence of children.
Yeah. Definitely have.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's a reason this is so iconic, is it's a really good ghost story. And
Yeah.
I think Sudoka and Samara's curse, because the American one ends the same way, realizing that making a copy skips your turn,
Yeah.
is that she just wants to spread her curse as far as it'll go.
Hmm.
And Ring was very successful in Japan. There are several sequels, including Grudge versus The Ring,
Yeah. The Grudge.
which is
So,
another
yeah, that's
very famous
Japanese
Japanese
though.
horror movie
Yeah.
that got an American remake.
How are they different?
The Grudge is just a haunted house.
Oh, house, okay.
I dumbing it down a lot, probably, but it is. I did
Yeah.
see the latest Grudge movie, and it's a haunted house, but it's a ghost that latches onto you. Whatever
And
that's called.
in the American one, she is in Japan.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh
yeah,
yeah. So
she's.
it's just is it like a demon
It might be a demon.
or a curse? Yeah, I'm not
I'm not
sure.
as familiar with the Grudge lore as I am with the Ring lore, because
Yeah.
the Ring really set itself up to have a lot of sequels with this whole copy tapes and pass the curse along. I've heard that one of the best versions of the American Ring movie is, I think it was an extra feature with the original movie or the sequel, a
Mhm.
short film called Rings, which would later be adapted into a full-length movie,
Yeah.
where a bunch of kids learn about this and learn about the rules. So they make it like a trend or a game that they play. How far can you get before you make a copy and save yourself?
Right. Yeah.
Since the 7 days leading up to your death are full of supernatural spookiness.
Yeah. Supernatural
And
spookiness.
something interesting that I did not know, that there was an original sequel before Ring 2 or Ringu 2 came to theaters. There was an original sequel called Spiral, which is based on the book's sequel, Spiral, and it was released at the same exact time as Ringu was.
Hmm.
So I think that means they were released on the same day, and the studio did this hoping to increase profits. However, Spiral was not as well received as Ringu, so they made Ringu 2 to decanonize Spiral as the original sequel and continue the actual story of
Nice.
it. And then we have the 2000 prequel, Ringu Zero Birthday, followed by Sudoka in 2019.
Mhm.
There's also Sudoku 3D from 2012, Sudoku 3D 2 in 2013.
Wow.
And then a TV series, Ring, the Final Chapter, with a similar storyline, but changes in characters and their backstories. There's also a Korean remake of this movie.
I'm glad the 3D stuff never caught on.
Yeah.
For long.
It's just, I don't hate 3D. I really love Titanic 3D because it wasn't filmed with 3D in mind, and the conversion James Cameron did was very well done.
Yeah, that's the only one that really makes sense.
But like, when 3D was popular in the 2012, 2010s, they always put in at least one sequence that does not age well when you move past 3D as a genre.
I know, right? Like something like coming straight at the camera, and when you watch it like 3 years later, you're like, oh yeah, I guess this is a 3D movie.
I guess this was 3D. Like Friday the 13th 3 was originally Friday the 13th 3D, so there's a lot of really stupid 3D moments.
Yep.
But movies that come out that offer the 3D experience but are just conversions, to me, always look better.
Yeah,
because they're just moments coming at you rather than, oh, this is here because the 3D element.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. And it looks like The Grudge has a reboot, 2020 reboot.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. It's weird to call it a reboot because I think it's a true sequel to The Grudge 2004, whenever the US one came out.
Yeah.
Because it starts at the same house from that movie.
Okay.
But if The Grudge is on, I don't know if it is, but if it's on Shudder, we can do it after we do Audition. Just tackle all the iconic Japanese horror.
Is it The Grudge? Is the Japanese film called The Grudge? I'm seeing that it's called Is it Ju-on The Grudge?
Ju-on The Grudge, or The Grudge.
There's like one before that called The Curse. You'll have to figure out which one is first.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. But the Grudge is the one with the
Yes. Scary sound that I could do. I'm not going to do it right now though. I don't want to be too loud.
So production.
Yeah, talk about it.
There wasn't a lot of music in this movie, I noticed, and I didn't mind a lot of times when I'm watching, I'm not saying this is a cheap movie, but if you're watching like a cheap made for TV movie, like a Hallmark movie or a Lifetime movie, you notice when there's not music.
Yeah.
But and it bothers me. But this one,
dude, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, there wasn't like a soundtrack really. It was just the natural noises happening around them, and I think that created a sense of realism.
Yeah.
We got a lot of Japanese cinema hallmarks, like the really nice wide shots of the characters. The one that stood out to me the most was the father and son staring at each other. I thought that was a very beautiful shot, and just a hallmark of Japanese cinema and the symmetry that comes along with movies like that. Like a lot of Japanese movies will have these beautiful, very Wes, I don't want to say Wes Anderson, but that's I can't symmetrical shots, symmetrical shots.
There you go.
Where it's just perfectly aligned and beautiful, and we got a lot of that in this movie. I like that it was set up more as a mystery rather than a straight horror movie. That made the ending of the movie with his death very shocking.
Yes, it did.
When it was confirmed to be paranormal, and which they kind of were alluding that this is a paranormal event. It's not like a serial killer who is very methodical. But seeing that happen in real time versus just how grounded and realistic the rest of the movie was, came together very well.
I agree. That's a really great point. And I want to point out that since you said that this was more of like a mystery, I can definitely agree, because if you're someone who has seen the American version and then you're watching this after that, you'll notice that like the American version, like they just tried to do everything they could to make it just like terrifying and disturbing. So everything about it is just like scary, down to the color palette. If I was looking at some of the pictures, Sam, and it's like that yellow washed out stuff color palette that they got going on. This movie wasn't like that. But it did have that aspect of like creepiness because of her body at the bottom of the well, and then the end where we see the death.
And
yeah,
I think another difference between this original movie and the remake is in the remake, the ring very much refers to the ring imagery that shows up in the cursed videotape, but I don't think we have that in this version of the movie.
Yeah,
the ring actually refers more to how cyclical the nature of this curse is, that the only way to save yourself is by cursing another person, where the ring title in the remake is much more straightforward, like, oh, there's this ring that the video ends on, what could that be?
What could that be? And like, oh, it's like the well because it's like round. That's crazy. But yeah, so it's super literal. You can tell because we're Americans and we're dumb.
Yeah.
we can't make a title that figurative. But that makes more sense to me, though, is how you described it.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that the American remake tried so hard to be more horror than mystery thriller.
Yeah.
Because it's also a PG-13 horror movie, because it came out it came out at a time where studios were pushing for more PG-13 horror to get more teenagers in the theater, and if you cut off the 17 below age group, you lose out on a lot of revenue. Right. And while I don't think there's anything in the original that would warrant an R rating, there are moments in the remake that I think they wanted to get an R rating to make it, scarier or more alluring. Such as the horse getting mangled in the boat being the goriest scene in that movie.
Yeah.
But, I think this movie deserves all the love it's gotten for the past couple of decades. It's very simple. It's straightforward. I don't know how the sequels live up to it. We might explore that one day. But this movie launched an entire subgenre of horror, and then an even more subgenre of horror being the remakes of J-horror films.
Yeah.
And without the J-horror revolution, I don't think we'd be here today with kind of the K-horror revolution of movies like Parasite. Really just all of Bong Joon-ho's catalog is K-horror to an extent. But I think just the love of Asian horror cinema becoming mainstream has a lot to do with Ringu and The Grudge and Audition setting the stage.
Yeah, that's a pretty good, and that's like a good lineup of I guess horror movies from Japan that we would know the name of. And so they've made an impact over here, so much so that some are remade, and then those remakes have gone on into the culture of just satire too. So it's it's penetrated at all levels. And that's really cool because I feel like it sometimes it can go over our heads that that's one of the iconic films. It's not just slasher, wall-to-wall slasher, like it has been lately. So it's kind of refreshing to go back to something like this. And I hope that maybe we start to see a little bit more of original movies kind of coming through with the curse thing again. Because we had a lot of that in the early 2000s and the late 1990s. But I think maybe we can take a break from the slashers and do something different again.
I agree. We've had a great run with slashers, and maybe we will move back towards the curse haunting genre of horror. I know next week Saw 10 comes out, and we'll see how that goes.
Comes out on my anniversary. How about that?
Nice.
I know we have to see how it goes, no matter if we can say we like it or not. I can't say right now.
I love the original 3 Saws. I think they're a wonderful, wonderful trilogy. But once you lose John Kramer, once you lose John Kramer, and I think other horror critics have pointed it out, and it explains my issue with the sequels past 3 perfectly, is we get to a point where the traps are no longer winnable. Like the appeal of John Kramer's traps are, there are ways to win. You can beat it. He's given you solutions how to survive. You just have to not panic and use your fucking brain. But then it just stops being about that and becomes a gore fest. So we have John Kramer coming back because Saw 10 is, I guess, a midquel. I think it's a prequel to 3. I'm gonna have to look into it.
No, it's I think it might be a prequel to 2. Look into it again. You're right. It's either 2 or 3, dude.
So we might be going back to the whole torture porn genre, or Exorcist Believer comes out in October, which is a direct sequel to the original Exorcist. It has from the studio that brought you Old Man Michael Myers comes Old Man Ellen Bernstein.
A freaking direct sequel to the original Exorcist?
Yeah.
I thought there was an Exorcist 2.
I might retcon Exorcist 2 and 3 because those were direct sequels, kind of like how Halloween 2018 is a direct sequel to the original Halloween that retcons everything before it. So we have 30 different timelines for the Halloween franchise, which is fine. It just means more Halloween movies.
Yeah, that's fine. What are you gonna do about it now? Just don't even complain. Just don't worry about it. It's just more movies. Just go watch them.
I just saw The Nun 2, which was trash. I just saw it to see a movie last week.
I thought that The Nun 2 was like already out because The Nun, when it came out, got so much hype that I swear I thought that like it just transitioned straight into Nun 2.
Yeah.
Because when did the first Nun come out?
It came out in like 2018, I think.
Yeah, that was like 5 years ago now.
It was a while ago, but
damn.
It's annoying because
why now?
I didn't like it and it was boring, and it's a bunch of nuns being nuns and saving the day against the evil nun. But its only purpose for existing is it's setting up the next Conjuring movie, which I like the Conjuring movies, but the spin-offs are just annoying and I don't like them. But with that movie and with Exorcist, maybe we are going to see a resurgence of these curse ghost horror movies. That's my whole point.
There's going to be another Conjuring?
Yeah, it's
how many Conjurings are there right now? Like 5?
There's the Conjuring 2.
There's at least 3.
Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It. And Conjuring Last Rites, which is what The Nun 2 was leading into.
Oh.
So I think Last Rites might be the final one. I'm not complaining. I like Patrick Wilson. I like looking at him. He's a marvelous horror actor.
I get him confused because he's also in Insidious, and that new one just came out. The Red Door. That's like the 4th or 5th Insidious.
And I know The Red Door was kind of a passion project for Patrick Wilson.
Was he involved in producing or directing?
He was, and he also recorded a song with the band Ghost.
What?
Because if you don't know this about Patrick Wilson, he's also an incredible classically trained singer.
Wow.
He was in Phantom of the Opera because he's a classically trained singer.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he's an incredible human being.
Amazing. What a talent.
Like just flawless. There's footage of him at rehearsals for Phantom of the Opera when they were, doing their singing rehearsals, getting ready for the role, and he's just like sight reading and flawlessly hitting all the notes. It's
amazing.
Yeah, he is incredible. And I think Insidious Red Door, I read, was a passion project of his. He wanted to kind of conclude the series.
Listen, I need to. And see, this is where I go back to our conversation we have time and time again, where I say I'm getting overwhelmed. Yeah. And I need to like sit down and like watch all of these movies all the way through just so I can like remember which is which. Just because.
Congratulations, you have a strike. So you have time. There's no new movies coming out.
Thank you. Yes, you're right. I have time. I could do it. And I just want to double back real quick. I know we're talking about Ringu, but I want to talk about Saw again. I think that after Saw 3, he dies in Saw 4, right? And so, but
I think he's dead in Saw 3. I think he's died pretty dead.
He's completely dead in 4.
Okay.
So I would have to watch him again, Sam.
It's Amanda after
Amanda, yes.
Yeah, and Amanda's traps aren't winnable.
Yeah, so she dies while he is dying. So they both die at the same time. You were right. And I don't know if that's in the end of the third or beginning the end of the fourth, but I think by 4, that's when they do his autopsy. And then after that, I think either in Saw 6 or Saw 3D, the final chapter, they do bring back John Kramer again. So one of those movies is a prequel, and he is in it. And I think it's Saw 3D, the final chapter, where the farm silo is. But that's like too late. You know what I mean? And then they did Spiral with Chris Rock. And I didn't even
touch on Spiral with Chris Rock. I know that's.
Did you see that?
I didn't see it. I know it's somewhere in the Saw universe, but I don't know where it falls.
I don't know where it falls either. I would have to watch it and see.
We'll have to research. I'll try and research before I go see the new one on next week.
Yeah, maybe I should take the time this week and watch a couple again.
Yeah,
watch a couple. Watch 9.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so realistic aspects, wrapping this up.
Oh yeah. A curse videotape is pretty, you know what, and that's what makes this so stand out, is because this curse, I feel like no one thought about like cursed items the same way. And they're like, hey, what's like a new thing in 1998? Oh, like videotapes, man. So like a cursed movie is very clever, because especially if it's like a rental thing, that's really, really smart.
Yeah.
So watching a creepy
fun
movie
prank that you would never see the payoff with is just donating a VHS tape to Goodwill.
And it being scary
with the cursed
cursed
video footage.
Yeah, with the cursed video footage, and then scaring people.
Yeah.
They just be scared.
And
what do you do?
Having an absent mother is pretty scary.
Being alone all day and then having your mom call and say, hey, I know it's 10 o'clock, but I'm gonna be late.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. Your ex-wife coming over to ask you a favor, and that favor is you dying.
You die. It's like, please watch this movie. You may die in a week, but like, can you help me like watch it together so you can, as a I don't know what kind of professor he is, because he has like these videotape analysis pieces of hardware, but also on his chalkboard at home, he is doing math. But then his student comes over and says, hey, that publisher wants your essay. What kind of professor is this?
Maybe he's a professor of Japanese history, Japanese lore.
In math?
I mean, math involves, you got to do math occasionally to figure stuff out.
I suppose that's true. Yes, I suppose so. But anyway, yeah, just being he seems like a cool professor, so he seems like he's got his shit together and is good.
I guess being an intern and finding your boss dead and deformed is
did you think that was like a salacious thing though? Like, was that like supposed to be like a flirtatious relationship?
Probably a little.
She erased his plus sign and put a minus sign as a joke.
I think it's semi-flirtatious. She was clearly annoyed that he was hanging out with his ex-wife.
Well, like, yeah, he's old. He's got one of those ex-wives, you know?
Yeah. But that's all I got now. That's all I got.
Yeah, what else is realistic? I think one of the other things is being special or having some type of special ability, but being like seen as like a demon or like a monster, and being driven to like kill yourself and stuff. So that would be not cool. Getting with the doctor that is supposed to be like your partner, and then actually having a child with them, and then killing your child. So killing your child because they're scary is also this aspect. And then that's it. I think. Also having your friends all die on the same day. That would suck. That would suck. Going to like 4 different funerals and stuff. Yeah. I think that's it, Sam.
Yeah, that's all I've got. If you want to do the end notes, Trixie's about to wake up and bring chaos.
Oh, and say meow, meow, meow. Okay, cool. So, I've got the outro notes, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks, guys, for watching Ringu. And thanks for tuning into our episode. We are the Real Horror Show podcast. Our host is Sam Odie, and I'm the co-host, Stormy Skies. The podcast was created by Sam Odie and Stormy Skies and is directed, edited, and produced by Sam Odie. Thank you, Sam. You can find Sam on Instagram at Oh Hi, I'm Sam. And you can find Stormy on Instagram at The Stormy Skies. You can find the Real Horror Show podcast on Spotify, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Play Store, Pandora, and anywhere you like to stream your podcast. Oh, I'm so used to saying Stitcher. Stitcher's gone now.
R.I.P. Got to take it off our link tree.
Yep, I know. Well, don't forget to hit subscribe so you're always in the know when a new episode comes out. Follow us on social media. You can find The Real Horror Show podcast on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, and yes, Twitter too, /X. But I'm just going to keep saying Twitter because I'm worried that one day it'll just switch back. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we do more than just podcasts. We love to write and have plenty of great movie reviews and essays, all of which can be found on our website, realhorrorshow.com. We love hearing from our listeners. You can ask us a question, excuse me, or send us a movie request to review by DMing us on social media, or you can either send us an email at realhorrorshowpodcast@gmail.com. We're having a call for guests. Do you love horror movies? Are you a podcaster, a content creator, a movie lover, or anyone in between who is a listener to our show? We would love to have you as a guest on one of our episodes. Reach out to us via social media, DM, or email us at realhorrorshowpodcast@gmail.com. Our podcast episodes featuring guests are all listed on our website, realhorrorshow.com. And we are so thankful for all of our listeners. You are the life force of our podcast, and we wouldn't really exist without you. Thank you all for making this podcast real and supporting us as we record every week. You can support us in different ways, such as liking and sharing our podcast episodes on social media. Giving us a review will help the podcast more than you know and will help other listeners find it too. You can also donate to Real Horror Show by visiting our support page on our website, where you can make a one-time donation via PayPal, buy us a coffee with the Buy Us a Coffee button, or explore our very interesting Amazon wish list. The Real Horror Show podcast stands behind SAG-AFTRA and WGA as they strike. If you want to support the WGA and SAG-AFTRA, then consider donating to the Entertainment Community Fund, which supports those who are out of work. You can also donate to other funds benefiting actors, writers, and crew members using the links found in the episode notes. And any other pertinent news?
I don't think so.
Other than Sam got a baby kitten, I don't think so. And then Saw 10 is coming out, so all the Saw fans, including me and Sam, yeah, next like what, Friday?
Yep, next Friday.
Dude, yeah, Friday. Cool. Okay. Bet, right? Isn't that what the kids say?
Yeah, bet.
You betcha I'll be there, right? Isn't that what that means?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, our outro song is called Creepy Doll by Jonathan Colton, and he can be found at jonathancolton.com. Otherwise, thank you, fuck off, and have a swell evening. This is Real Horror Show signing off.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I love the creepy doll.